Hey guys, welcome back to the second time Lucky Mining channel. In today's quick video, we are going to have a look at another Ergo application. More specifically, we are going to have a look at Duckpools. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, this is another video in the Discovering Ergo series, and that's a series where I take a look at what the Ergo ecosystem has to offer. Now, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you would have seen I've covered stuff like setting up a wallet, a node, some bots, having a look at DeFi, and all sorts of things. Now, Duckpool is another application within that ecosystem, which works slightly different to the other applications that I've previously looked at. Now, getting the disclaimers out of the way, this video is not at all sponsored or any financial advice. This is literally just taking a look from my perspective, which is an uninformed miner, having a look and see if I can make maybe a little bit more on the Ergo that I've already mined. Now, I'll leave timestamps at the bottom in case you wanted to skip to a specific section, but starting off with what the hell is Duckpools. Now, simplistically, it's just a borrowing and lending protocol on the Ergo ecosystem. Now, what the hell does that mean? That means somebody potentially like me or you can lend out our Ergo or any one of the supported tokens to somebody that wants to borrow that. There is obviously an interest rate attached to it, and the person that is borrowing the tokens or whatever, they would need to put up a specific collateral. At the end of the term, the person needs to pay the loan back and he would get his collateral back. And that's really as simple as that. Now that you know a little bit more of Duckpools, let me jump on the computer and actually show you some of their frequently asked questions, their platform, their GitHub, some of the risks associated to it. And yes, there are always risks to either the borrower or the lender. And then let's see if I can lend out some of my Ergo on the ecosystem. Okay, so here we go on the computer. Now, as you can see here, I've got their website open, duckpools.io, and it's really nice and clean and simple. If I toggle to the right, you can see there's a light mode and a dark mode. Obviously, I like the dark mode. And as a function, really, there's only two things that you do here. You're either a lender or a borrower, and I get this wrong all the time. The difference, I know what it is, but which person is which I get wrong all the time. And I'm pretty sure I got it again wrong in the intro. But ultimately, you're either lending your tokens or Ergo out, or you're borrowing this. Now, looking at the actual platform, it's really clean and simple to understand. Here you can see this is the Ergo pool. This is the amount of Ergo that's currently being locked up. The annual percentage yield, so this is basically the APY. This is the amount that you would get if you're a lender, at least at this specific point in time. Next up is the pool utilization. Now, the APY and the pool utilization is a function that work together. Now, what I mean by that is the more utilized the pool is, the higher the yield. So that's really how it works, which at least in my case, it's I like the way that that works. That means if it's being used, it actually you get an APY. These platforms where they guarantee you X amount of APY, which might or might not be subsidized, doesn't feel right. But anyway, so that's something different. But as you can see here, that's the APY, the pool utilization. And then in case you are a lender and you've lent before, you would see how much you've got in the pool. And as you can see here, I've got 5 Ergo, and I've had 5 Ergo for the longest time since the pool has started. I had to withdraw it and then put it up again, but that's really how much you have. Now, what you can do is I can either lend some more or I can withdraw it. I haven't really played with the borrowing aspects. As you probably would know, I'm a miner, so I would mine Ergo for the most case. So it's naturally I would use this. Now, looking at some of the other tokens that they support, SIG USD, and as you can see, the SIG USD APY is a lot higher and the pool is utilized more. And as I mentioned, that's sort of how those two things work together. There's also SIG RSV, Quack pool. And as I understand, this is sort of the protocol's token, for lack of a better word. And then right here at the bottom is the Rosen pool. Now, I would imagine, as you can see here, there's no APY, there's no real utilization. I would imagine this might catch a bit as soon as the Rosen bridge is actually functioning and working. And that's really how simple the website is in terms of usability. And again, in this video, I will go and increase or lend a little bit more of my Ergo on the platform just to show you guys how it works. Now, looking at some of the other tools that they have, and the first thing is their Discord here. And as you can see, they've got a great section here on frequently asked questions. And I definitely ask you guys to go and have a look and read through it when you have some time, especially now over the festive time. Just take your time and explore the ecosystem here. So as you can see here, they've got an explanation of what Duckpools is. And again, sort of as I mentioned, probably more eloquently, they would have it here in the frequently asked questions than what I've explained, but it's basically a borrowing and lending protocol here. They are open source, as you can see here, and we'll go and have a look at that now. I'll just jump back to this and go back to Discord. They talk about the interest rate here and how that is calculated. And as I mentioned, it's basically a function of the pool's utilization and sharing that across multiple people. They also talk about the algorithm part of the interest rate. Some of the other frequently asked questions is about risk, and this is an important thing here. You should know your assumptions and know your risk specifically associated to these type of platforms. You've heard me talk about it before if you've watched some of my previous videos. I've been burned before, so again, you need to assume that anything that you put in here, you might not get out at the end of the day. Now, what are the type of risks specifically with a platform like this? The first one is liquidity risk, and that's really where the borrower's collateral value drops below sort of what they have borrowed at the end of the day. So, and that means where the platform is sort of underwater. If you read the whole description here, at the end of the day, it's a pool, and that's what you would see here, Ergo pool. And that liquidity risk is going to be spread amongst whoever has lent out their Ergo or whatever token that they have lent out. So that's just something that you need to know about. There is bots that monitor this at the end of the day. I run actually one of those bots. So I get a small fee. But yeah, it's important for you to understand sort of what this liquidity risk is. Like anything in DeFi or any one of these smart platform players out there like Ergo, there's a smart contract risk at the end of the day. So that means that the smart contract potentially might be able to be exploited, and then you might lose everything where wallets is drained, and you see this happen all the time. And that's really where the open source nature comes in. So Duckpools, if I just quickly jump to their GitHub here, as you can see, it's an open source platform. This is where you'll find the off-chain bots, and that's sort of what I run. Maybe if you guys want, and you can comment in the section below, I can show you guys how I set up and run one of these bots, but you can have a look and see what their contract is about. So you can have a look, see through this, make sure that you understand it. Now, my new location, the internet sucks, so that's why it's so slow. But in the end of the day, you can go ahead and look at their code in case you are interested in the more technical, nitty and gritty things. Now, if I go back to Discord, the other nice thing about Discord here, besides that there are links to some of the videos and guides around using their platform here, there's also a section where you can go ahead and talk to them, ask questions, look at the recent activity, provide feedback. So it's really good in that nature here. So if I go to ask anything as an example, you can see here lots of people have asked various different questions. And I'm sure if I scroll up here, if I go up a little bit higher, I'm sure here you can see where I've asked questions specifically associated to setting up the bot here. So the community is very useful. It's not super active. I don't see a ton of people in here necessarily, but as soon as I've had a question, it has been answered slightly after that. So the team is really good at answering questions. Now, again, this is just Discord. They've got their GitHub here. Next up, let's have a look and see if I can lend out some of my Ergo. Okay, so enough of looking at their Discord and their documentation. Let's see if I can lend out some of my mined Ergo. So I'll close up Discord here. And what I've done in the background here is I have disconnected my wallet just to show you guys sort of what it looks like in case you wanted to connect your wallet. Now, as you can see here, the website looks slightly different to what I just showed you a little bit earlier. And the big reason, if you look at the top right here, I haven't connected my wallet. So that's the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do here. I'm just going to go and connect. And you basically have got a couple of options. You can connect the Nautilus wallet, which in my case, that's what I'm going to use. And if you haven't watched that video and you're interested in using the Nautilus wallet, I'll leave a link in the video description in case you're interested. But the other option that you have is any Ergo Pay wallet that's got Ergo Pay. A good example of something like that is Sat Ergo. Now, I haven't made a specific video on Sat Ergo, but I've been playing around a little bit with it. But so that's really your options. You need to be either using Nautilus or using a wallet that supports Ergo Pay. In my case, I'm going to connect my Nautilus wallet. It's going to ask me which wallet do I want to connect. And as you can see here, I've got a couple. In my case, I'm going to connect my Ergo Education Fund. And again, if you're following the series, that's sort of where I've taken 100 Ergo, created a wallet, and using it to explore the Ergo ecosystem. So I'm going to connect that wallet. I'm going to click connect. And I think if it's the first time, you need to specify your password. I've done it a couple of times, so that's why it's not asking me specifically for a password. But you might need to specify your password. The next thing is what we're going to do is, do I want to lend or borrow? At least the scope of this video is I am going to lend out more of my Ergo. And again, I'm a miner, so I natively get Ergo, so I'm going to use this. I do have a little bit of SigUSD that I played with a little bit for some of my previous videos on this series, but in my case, I have Ergo. So how do I go about lending that? I'm just going to click on this fat green button that says lend out Ergo. So I'm going to click on that. How much do I want to lend? In my case, again, as I mentioned earlier, you shouldn't be lending or borrowing stuff that you're not expected to lose. So I always assume that I'm going to lose it. So the amount here is small in the bigger scheme of things. So I'm just going to specify 5. I'm going to lend it out. It's going to ask you for slippage. It's going to give you the slippage cost, the protocol fees, the transaction fees. So it gives you a breakdown on all of the fees. And again, you need to go and have a look at that. As I'm running one of these bots, I'm getting some of the fees hopefully back. Hopefully my bot wins a transaction here. But anyway, so I'm going to click confirm. It's going to pop up on my wallet sites where I'll need to go ahead and confirm the transaction. In a second, I'm going to put in my password here and sign a transaction, and I would get a pop-up here that transaction is submitted. So as you can see here, within the next 2 to 10 minutes, and again, the Ergo blockchain is sort of a block every 2 minutes. So I just need to wait a little bit, and then I would have lent out my Ergo. Now, the other question that you might have here is it really this simple? Absolutely, it is super easy to use. But the typical question that I see sometimes in the Discord is, how do I get this yield? Now, as you can see, the yield is not massive here. Again, the pool utilization is not high. It's just basically 20% here. Is how and when do I get these payments? Now, what you would get, the pool's interest rate would be paid out. I think it's a daily in the native coin. So what I mean by that is, if I'm in the Ergo pool, I will get my percentage yield in Ergo. If I'm in SigUSD, I'll get it in SigUSD and SigRSV. Subsequently, I'll get some SigRSD. So what I would expect here is every single day, I would get a small amount of Ergo depending on what the APY is specifically for that pool. And that's really how easy it is to lend your Ergo. Again, as I mentioned, exercise some risk, but that's really how easy it is to use the Duckpool platform. Now, it works slightly different to some of the other things that I've covered before in this video series. Now, if you guys remember, I've covered SpectrumFi. And in SpectrumFi, you can do something similar, but in that case, it's a DEX. So you would need to specify the 2 coins that you want to put up against each other. Now, again, in this case, that's why I like Duckpools, because I'm a miner inherently, so I get Ergo. But if I use something like SpectrumFi, I would need to give both the pair. So that would mean either Ergo and SigUSD. I would need to provide collateral for
for both of those items. So I need to own both of those coins/tokens at the end of the day. And that's what's nice about Duckpools is I can just own Ergo, at least in my case, and I can just lend that out to anybody that wants to borrow it, hopefully from me at the end of the day. So that's sort of what I use this for. Sigmafy is again slightly different. That's really where a borrower puts on and says, I want to borrow X at X amount of APY, so it's sort of fixed, and I go ahead and look at that and decide if I want it in on that specific transaction. So that's really the different angles of the various different DeFi applications on the Ergo system. As you can see, they all have a slight different purpose. SpectrumFi is more if you want to swap something into something else, and again, you can obviously provide liquidity. Sigmafy is more from the borrower standpoint, where they post up what do they want to borrow and what they expect the risk is going to be associated to APY and what collateral they want to provide. And then as a lender, you can then decide yes or no. Here, it's sort of slightly the other way around, where it's just one token. You can provide liquidity here, and depending if it's used or not, you will get a APY. So I like the simplistic nature of that and the various different options that's available on the Ergo ecosystem.
That's it for this video, guys. If you've enjoyed the video, please like the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. If you didn't, please specify in the comments what you would like me to change. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one.